Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another video. My name is Tom. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my Bolt EUV. Now, I am heading up to my mom's house again because this past Friday night, so that was, 3 days ago? At about 8:30 at night, a massive tree decided to let go of one of its branches, and that branch tumbled about 25 feet to the ground. With it, it took the electrical supply to my mom's house. So she's been without power since Friday night, somewhere around, 8:30 or so, 9 o'clock at night. We had emergency crews out, fire department came out, and they rendered the scene safe so we could approach because we didn't know what was live and what wasn't. We kind of assumed that things were safe since there weren't sparks flying and everything like that. Nothing caught on fire or anything, but I'll share some pictures with you guys as to the aftermath. In a nutshell, there are two poles. The main pole, which is outside of my mother's property, and then there is a kind of like a midpoint pole that's on my mom's property. So the lines kind of span between those two poles, and then from there they go to the side of the house. Well, that tree fell between the poles, and those wires pulled with such tension that they ripped the wall apart of my mom's house. And as you can see in some of these pictures, it's definitely a scary sight. My mom said the house shook and it sounded like an explosion, and all she could do is shelter in place and pray that she wasn't going to die. Fortunately, she wasn't injured. Her dog was fine too. Nothing, critically happened on the inside of the house. But as you can see, there is some insulation hanging out the wall, so it went pretty deep. Some of those anchors that anchored the mast to the wall were about 4.5 inches long, it looked like, if not longer. So they went through multiple layers of wall, and I guess they'd have to for all the weight that they're supporting. But be that as it is, today's day 3. We started out on Saturday. We've been dealing with insurance adjusters and everything because there's a lot of structural damage, a lot of which I already fixed, but nevertheless we're going to have 2 sets of contractors coming out today, it being Monday. I think today's the 31st of July. It is Monday, July 31st. So we have an electrical company coming out, and we have a tree service coming out to kind of remove what fell. And also, I'll show you another picture here. There's another branch that's waiting to come. So we're gonna get that down before it decides to, take these lines out again. I don't know what the process entails, so I'll kind of, fill you guys in on what's happening. I know there's an inspection that has to happen before the utility reruns their lines to the meter. A new meter box has to be installed. A new breaker panel has to be installed. And yeah, I don't know if any of the old equipment will survive, because it did end up hitting the ground. But we'll see. It's kind of surreal. It was definitely surreal to see it at, close to midnight by the time I got there on Friday night. We didn't know what to expect, and et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I'll fill you guys in. I don't know what this video is going to turn into, but I'll try to record a little bit more when I get there. So stick around. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. So this is day 4. As you can tell, it's a new day. It's just before 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and we're about to get rowdy over here. So here's my mom's house, the back end of it, and let me show you what happened. So Here's what's left of the electrical supply to the house. As you saw in the pictures from yesterday's portion of the video, they literally just tied off the main supply right there. And long story, but we went through and we sort of fixed this wall enough that it could be painted. Like you can see, here was the breaker panel, there was the meter box, and then the mast that went all the way up to here, which connected this masthead to this pole right here, right there. And then from that pole, there's that's the intermediary pole that I talked about yesterday. And then behind that, off the end of the property, back behind those bushes, is the main utility pole where the utility has tied off their cables. So we went through and fixed this wall. That was a Sunday job. It took about 4 hours to patch everything up. I actually did the work for my mom just to get it done. And actually, we were hoping that yesterday, when we got the estimate and everything, the electrician could just mount the new equipment in that same spot, because all the cables terminate right down here and it would be easy enough to come up to the breaker panel. Well, state of South Carolina has some codes, as do all the other states. You need 36 inches between the breaker, or between the meter and the nearest window. That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. This, however, will. So we're having to move all of the stuff that was here to right here. We measured it out yesterday. The midpoint is just about 36 inches from that window right there, which is my mom's, I think she calls it a rumpus room or a utility room or whatever. You could easily put a pool table in there and it would be like a rec room. Okay, so let me show you what happened here. I gotta be careful because there's poison ivy out here. And I am wearing gym clothes, literally. It's been getting so hot here, really bad, past 105, 106 degrees yesterday. And today is no different. So today I am literally shorts and sleeveless shirt. So I'm just gonna be careful and just do it the right way. Okay, there's Mr. Tree right there. And if you look really carefully, right here, you will see the wires going underneath the tree. They're actually coming down from this pole. You can kind of see them right there. And they're buried underneath this monstrosity. It's about a 25-foot branch. And it looked alive. So it's kind of sad that it fell and broke off of this tree. But you know what? This tree is covered with vine, and those vines, they drink the sap out of the tree, and so the tree might look alive on the outside, but on the inside it's dead. Same with this one right here. You can actually see that there's another broken branch there that this one took out as it was falling. Now the run is from this pole right here to the utility pole that's behind those bushes. You see the base right here, and they're tied off back there. But all of this needs to be cleared out. So in about 10 minutes or so, the tree service guys are going to come and they're going to start hacking away at this, clearing a path for the utility to come out later on and rerun the wires. I'll show you here a better shot of the intermediary. In fact, here's some of the cables that were cut and tied off. But there's the tie-off point, and you can see that it's just laying on the carport roof here. So yeah, fun times ahead. It looks like they zip tied it up here, so that would be safe when they came to do the work. But yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. I think that's pretty much it. So besides doing all this tree stuff back here and installing the new electrical supply over here, that's about it. Let's take a look at what's left of this panel here. Let's see what we got. Okay, so there's the disaster that's kind of left over. This is the meter mount. You know, the meter sits in that little round thing and it connects via 4 prongs to this, and obviously there's no electrical supply connected, so this is all safe. But you can see here, this base right here is ceramic. I think it's reinforced ceramic, and you can see how violent this thing ripped out, right? And you can see how violent it was, because there's one of the posts to the meter that actually used to be attached right there, and I can't move it because it's under tension. But even if I straighten this out, there's just not enough slack here to put it back. It ripped out the mast, you know, the thing that holds this in. It snapped off a collar, you know, thick PVC. And then old school way of wiring. Look at this. So this is a dryer outlet that was added probably about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, judging by how this cable looks, and also when the codes changed that made this kind of run illegal. That's the dryer vent, by the way. All the cabling to the house goes in this way, and unlike it having one cable, this guy has like 6. Yeah, including the ground. So there's actually, look at that nice little hornet's nest back there. Here's another one. But there's all the breakers. The electrician evaluated these yesterday just to see if they were still good. They are, but they're old, so we're going to replace them. This guy here is actually a cross connect breaker, a 70 amp that goes into the indoor panel. I guess when they expanded, they, instead of filling this up with more stuff or replacing this, they just added a new one, and they ran new lines to that panel that's inside now. Yeah, so that's it. And then this is where it used to be. You can kind of see the outline of the panel right here, the breakers. And then the meter was right here. And then up there is where that massive hole was. It was actually right here. And I had to do my best to, you know, to seal the framing. I added some wood, and then I also nailed a whole bunch of these slats back to prevent rain from getting into the house, you know, if it did rain. So yeah, it's a little crazy. All of this is going to get redone. So they're going to cut everything. This is going to get removed because that's just insane. The outlet for the dryer is on the wall in there. I don't know if you could see it. He's actually going to install it on the floor and drill through the floor into the crawl space, and then over and then out over here, and then up in the middle of this. So figure right about here's where all this stuff's going to come out, and then it'll go into the middle of this wall. And then another rule that South Carolina has is that from the driveway, so this is the driveway, right? From this level, that mast needs to be 12 feet to accommodate the drooping of the wires. So 12 feet. And then they'll run it to this pole right here. Let me get my hand out of the shot so it'll focus. And then from there, it'll go out to the utility. So this whole project is very, very expensive, and we're grateful that the insurance company is helping us cover it for obvious reasons. But you know, trees are kind of funky in that regard. We were actually looking at this tree yesterday with the tree guy when he came out, and his concern is, and I'm going to step over here so you can see it a little bit better, it's leaning towards the house, the whole tree. So if this tree should fall, it would end up on my mom's house. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a certified letter to the owner of that property, which is condemned, because they just let it fall apart. It, you know, all the rain and, you know, the wetness here just destroyed this house. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably going to have to gut it and rebuild it, or just level it and put something else in. It's owned by a property management company, and they rent it out. They took the tenants and they put them into a temporary housing facility, and that's where they've been for the last year. I haven't seen them since I moved here. So, and a couple of weeks ago they came and boarded the windows up. So kind of weird. But we thought for a while that there was progress being made, because they went through and they hacked down all the trees in the front yard. You can actually see there's one laying right there. They left this one, but they took out 3 other trees. So it is what it is. So this is what we're going to do today. This is our project. We're going to install this mast. We're going to terminate everything in the crawl space behind these bricks. We're going to clean all this up, get rid of it. Then my mom, in her infinite stash, is going to look for that paint that she had matched to this type of red. I know it's coming across as like pinkish purple, but it's actually red. And she's gonna paint this and make it look nice, because I did the best I could with the pieces that we had, you know, because I think there's still some laying over here. But we actually went through and collected all of these wooden slats that came off this wall. I mean, they were all just scattered right here, all the way out to over here, and kind of used that broom to sweep it all up, and then we kind of reassembled it. This cable right here, this guy, that's got to go. It's against code. So I cut it and I just tied it off up there. But that is actually the lighting for the carport, and it's going to have to get abandoned and at some point cut out. These kind of wires are no longer allowed in South Carolina. Only the utility has free air access for cabling and power lines. So anything that's done electrically like this has to be trenched, and my mom's not going to blast this slab just to get that light bulb. And I think there was a dusk till dawn light right there that died years ago. So yeah, we'll just abandon this, or we'll figure out another way to run it. Maybe we'll cut a trough in the ground and then come up this pole or something. I don't know. That's a thought. So anyway, that's about it. I'm gonna say bye right now, and then we'll do a follow-up at the end of the day. Once everybody's done, I'll show you the end result. But essentially, this is sort of the before, with the tree that's over there, the tree that's laying right there, and also the one that's still hanging there. You can kind of see it up there. And yeah, we'll see. Stick around and I'll show you guys the end result. Hopefully we'll have power on today. Oh, that reminds me, in order to get the power turned on by the utility, this whole installation has to be inspected. So they're going to come through with the inspector later after it's done, and hopefully get everything cleared, and they'll be able to run the line from the mast. I don't know what that'll take. If not today, then definitely tomorrow. But then again, it just depends on availability for the workers. So stick around and I'll show you guys what comes of it. Thanks for joining me on this. Sorry that I've been absent for a while, but this has been my life since Friday night. You know, I wanted to make sure that my mom was safe. The level of impact that this thing had when it got ripped off the wall, my mom described it as an explosion. She said that the house shook, and the only thing she knew at that point was to shelter in place, because she didn't know if her house just blew up. She didn't know if a tree fell on it. She didn't know what to do, and she was on the other side of her house, and that's where she stayed. She stayed there until I arrived, about an hour later, because she knew she was safe on the other side of the house. And this side of the house was the one that was affected by whatever booming, pounding bass line, was shaking the house. But yeah, she described it as just an insane, like a whack, low frequency. She said it was super bassy and it shook the house. She didn't know what was happening. So I'm glad it was just this and not an actual fire or explosion. But that hole that was here was about 10 inches across and 8 inches high. So that was quite a hole. Insulation was hanging out, and the hole ripped out both interior and exterior walls. So you could actually see into the upstairs. There's a room up there. And this part here is kind of like an attic crawl space type thing where they fluffed it out with insulation. So from like here, actually probably from this vent, I think the room ends right at the vent. It's a skinny room that kind of just goes, above this door, through the pitch of the roof. And from like here over is just, storage, crawl space and insulation. Ultimately, we can shine a light through it and see I stood right here and I shined a light this way and I could see the interior roof beams from here. So it ripped out the outside wall that these slats are kind of nailed to, screwed to, and the inside wall. And I think those were, I'm trying to see if there's a piece of that wood. I may have used all of it to put it back together. Yeah, I don't see any laying around. But essentially, I had to kind of reconstruct it, use screws to tie it all back together. So that way I had a frame to mount all this to. And it's not perfect, but you slap a coat of paint on that and it'll at least look visually, kind of like the rest of, the house. And if you're not paying attention to it, you won't know what happened. And here's the goods. This is the Centron meter, 240 volt, and here's the tamper tag that I left with it that I found. I figure they're gonna, I don't know if they'll be able to reuse this, or because it kind of hit the ground with impact, they're gonna decommission it. This is the dryer vent, so we're gonna install that. And this was a panel of some kind that we don't know what it went to. I think it was just in the right spot at the right time, and I don't know, came off the wall somewhere. But we can't figure out what it went to because there's nothing there. There's the dryer vent right there, but that's it. There's the analog telephone interface from back in the day. Ironically, these cables survived. So this is the analog telephone cable, and this is the coax for Spectrum that goes to that same pole. So ironically, they survived, without incident. But obviously we'll have to check all that. Trying to think what else is there. Oh, okay, so because the panel is being moved from over there to over here, or over here actually, we're gonna have to drive two 8-foot copper grounding rods into the ground here. So one's gonna be here and the other one's gonna be 6 foot away, somewhere around here. And that's to establish a ground. The old panel's ground was literally just this. It was this right here. This guy. And it's just going underneath the house. You can kind of see where it was. I had to cut it right there so that I could lay this on the ground. But that's it. I'll show you what happens when the end of the day comes. So stick around. All right, so the tree guys are here and they're getting jiggy with it. They're up here with a cool little, looks like a bobcat. Got cool little tracks on it, but they were able to get up this hill and in there without any problems. So they're already cutting that big monstrosity down that's on the wall. The part that actually took the cables off. The main feed lines down. So yeah, they're getting after it. Cool. Let's see how this goes. So I was gonna get a little bit closer and get some more shots, but then pieces of the tree just kind of went flying. And I saw one of the pieces roll down the hill over here and it looked totally intact. The tree was still alive when it broke. So that's kind of a bummer that it gave way. The guy that's doing the work, I'll plug his company down below. So if you're in the Spartanburg area of South Carolina and you're watching this and you need some tree service, maybe you know, let them know that we sent you. Now we have to do this, and hopefully we'll get the rest of this project going in about 30 minutes. The electrician's going to arrive here, so hopefully by then these guys will have cleared the branch and the down tree, and we'll have the means to move forward. So stick around. So just for some context, that right there is the live part of the tree that came down that was on our side of the wall. The tree that they pulled out on the other side was an ancillary tree that broke as that tall one. That's right. Let's see if I can figure it out. I think it's this one. It actually broke when it came down. It took more trees with it. So that was the first tree that they pulled out, which is now laying by the curb. That one was very much dead. So I decided to come up front because of the noise back there and everything else. So this was the tree right here, and there's a piece of it already in this grinder. Not to mention that piece right there. That was pulled out from the neighbor's yard when the tree that took down the power lines came down on the other side of the property. It took down part of a dead tree that was trimmed, but it wasn't taken out yet. That's the remainder of the tree. Since we had the tree guy here, and my mom is really good friends with the owner of this house, we decided that we would just pull all the dead stuff out and just be done with it. You know, we're already paying for a crew to come out to take care of this, so we might as well take care of everything and be a good neighbor, etc., etc. So I think this is about to get festive. I've never actually seen a tree grinder in action. Personally, I've seen videos. I actually watched a video last night on it, but it looks like the fun is about to start over here, and I'll see what I can shoot from a safe distance, hopefully, because I don't want to be anywhere near this thing. In fact, I'm actually contemplating moving the EUV out of the way, but he said I was perfectly safe, and it is, I think, 40 feet or so to the grinder, so hopefully nothing shoots out and, you know, breaks a windshield or something. Let's see what happens. These guys are doing a great job, and yeah, they're gonna grind this up, clean it up, and then the power guys should be here in about 15 minutes, hopefully. So stick around. So these guys have been at it for about 75 minutes. They got all the tree out. In other words, they cut down the branches that were in the way of the main feed line for the electrical, whatever, the utility. And they pulled out enough tree that not only is the street in front of my bolt here a big giant pile of tree, but the tree comes all the way up to the driveway right here. And have a look at this. This is all green. This is the part that was laying on the wall that actually took down the lines. That dead one over there was just a happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. But they fired up the wood chipper. I guess that's what it's called. I heard them say it. I have no idea, but this machine looks about as diabolical as it gets. Wouldn't want to get anywhere near it. When they fired it up, it sounded like a V8 Cummins just coming to life with that turbo whistle on the top of it. But they're ready to grind. He just came out a minute ago and told me about 20 minutes left. I'm guessing it's mostly for this part, but I don't know if we can see from this side of the house. They're actually cleaning up and picking up the remainder of the branches. I'm just trying to stay out of their way because some of their machinery looks like it could snap a human in half without even trying. So it is what it is, but these guys are doing a great job. Oh look, they brought a trunk out that's got vine all over it. I don't know if you can see it on the front of that loader or whatever it's called. That diabolical machine. I don't know, I think the word diabolical is now one of my favorite words because I've seen machines today that rival, well, my Kubota. So anyway, these guys are doing a great job. We'll see how things transpire in the next 20-25 minutes. Whatever these guys do, I'll see if I can get some shots of them grinding up this tree. Those blades in there look serious. I actually asked the guy, so what's worse, this or a jet engine? If a human were to get sucked into it, which one would do the job more effectively? He said, probably a jet engine. So, yeah, maybe this one's a little bit safer. I don't know. There's no guards on it or anything. Just keep back, I guess. So, oh, man. It's literally 9:25 in the morning. Wow, it fired up. It's literally 9:25 in the morning and I feel like I need to be in bed, so forgive my silliness, but let's see if I can get some shots of this. All right, so now that the tree guys are gone, I thought we'd go up here for a second to have a look around, because I will tell you, already you can see a whole lot of sky in the background. So let's take a look. So that's where the tree was, and this tree that's covered in vine, it's not really a hazard for the power lines because it's actually leaning towards where I'm standing, and it's short enough that if it fell, it would just kind of end up right here in this spot. So it's no big deal. It would have been extra money that the insurance wouldn't have covered because that wasn't the tree that ultimately caused all of that to happen. But what they did do, and I'm going to try to get in here without getting poison ivy all over my legs. So that's what's left of the tree. And that tree was laying right here. It didn't even damage the wall or anything, so that's kind of good. That is the main utility pole that we're looking at right there. You can see the lights up top. I believe the part that's coiled up is the part that's going to be run to my mom's house. I'm not sure. I'm kind of surprised there's no transformer up on that pole, because typically there is, but there might be one someplace else. Anyway, as I'm looking at it, these cables are all covered in trees. And you know what? These trees are on my mom's property. So I'm gonna have to tell her about it. She might have to just spray diesel or something and kill all this. Ooh, I almost got killed by this vine. Ooh, this vine has thorns on it. Ooh, not messing with that. But yeah, so looks like we got, unobstructed view from this pole to this pole. So I'm kind of thrilled about that. I'm glad they also took out some of these branches that were on this side of this tree. They didn't have to, but they did. Hey, look at this. I just noticed something. There's a sawed off pole right here. It's just laying here. You see it right there? I wonder if the utility's gonna come get that. They just left it on my mom's property. They're probably not going to, but it is what it is. These guys did an amazing job. They actually came back and they cleaned up because there was a whole bunch of leaves, twigs, branches, berries and whatever else came out of there. And they did a great job. They brought out the blowers, they brought out the rakes. I'm impressed. Definitely recommend them for tree removal, and I don't know what else they do. I guess it's tree service. So yeah, go down in the description. I'll put his contact information down there. If he has a website. I think it was a pretty reasonable rate for what it cost, and obviously the insurance is going to get the invoice for it. So we shall see. Up next is this, and I'm waiting for the electricians to arrive. They were supposed to be here by 9 o'clock. It is 10 minutes to 10 and no sign of them. In fact, I haven't even gotten the text message that says they're on their way. So I'm a little bummed out. I'm hoping it's because he was looking for supplies and material to do the job. But if he flaked out for whatever reason, then I'm gonna be really sad. And by sad, I mean mad, because my mom needs to be in this house. So inside, it's really humid, really wet. So we actually moved my mom out of her house, and she also has a dog, so a little pug that's very sensitive to his environment. He's got allergies and whatnot, and he's a pug, so he by default has a hard time breathing. And in there, it would be just impossible to expect either one of them to survive. You know, my mom has a lot of special considerations that she has to meet and maintain, and so it was easier for me to just take her to my aunt's, and she spent the weekend there. Yesterday, or 2 days ago? On Sunday, she came back with me here. We fixed this wall, and then at the end of that, at night, after we finished, she took her car, and she went to my aunt's instead of me taking her. My mom had the freedom of, if she had to go to the store, if she had to go to the doctor or anything, she could do that. My mom's still capable, meaning she can walk and stuff, but she's legally disabled, so we have to really be careful with her. She's got heart problems, and this didn't help one bit. This gave her incredible anxiety, incredible stress, and she recently suffered several minor heart attacks that, to her credit, she diagnosed herself and resolved herself. She used to work in a hospital in Germany with senior citizens, so she knows exactly what strokes look like. She knows exactly what heart attacks look like, and she has all of her supplies to take care of her. I think this woman is going to outlive me and potentially my son at the rate that she's going, because she is a strong woman, but at the same time, if she's not taking care of herself, or if something happens that's beyond her control, that affects her negatively to the point where she then can't take care of herself. So in an effort to avoid all that, I took over this entire project for her. I helped her with the wall, and I helped her with wrangling all the contractors, making all the phone calls, making sure insurance was on board and everything. It's just a tough situation, and you can't expect a 75-year-old woman who's a stage 4 cancer survivor and has all these other ancillary medical conditions. You can't expect her to be able to deal with it. Not only that, my mom understands English, if you talk to her, but English is like her fifth language, or fourth or fifth language. She grew up in Poland, all over Europe. She lived in Germany for 20 years. She learned Russian at some point. English is not the primary language of my family. English is my third language, actually, after Polish and German. I learned those in Europe when I was a child, and I learned English when I was 12. So, yeah, you'd never know, you'd never guess. But I was born in the U.S. but raised in Europe, and then I came back to the U.S. in '94, and that's kind of how my side of the family tree kind of progressed. So, yeah, okay, so I'm going to get my computer, start editing this video together, just that way I have an upload for tonight, and then I'm just gonna wait for the electrician to arrive, and when he comes, hopefully we'll be able to put this thing together, and we'll go from there. So stick around. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. This isn't the typical video, but I thought it would make some decent content, just because it was a very big project, lots of moving parts, and yeah, we just had to take care of it, and we had to do it in a hurry too. So all of this happened on Friday night. I think the incident, this whole thing here with this being ripped off the wall, and starting this whole cascade of events, that all started at about 8:30. I got here about 10 o'clock that night, and we were here for about 2 hours. At about midnight, we left, and at 12:30 in the morning, the utility came and they made the wire that's laying on the carport roof right now safe from the pole to this end over here. They just cut it and they left it. They certified it. They told us we were okay to approach the property if needed, and then the rest is kind of history. So Saturday, I dealt with insurance. Saturday night, all day Sunday, I made all the phone calls to get estimates scheduled for today. The tree company, we had a referral through a mutual friend of ours who, kind of pushed some buttons, and we got a very fast turnaround. They were here yesterday, and they were like, "Hey, we'll be here tomorrow morning." What can I say? Great dudes. If you're in a pinch, boom, they'll be there for you. The electrician, we had to go through the utilities website to find a list of kind of recommended and preferred electricians. Definitely not the cheapest, but I'm pretty sure it's not the most expensive. However, they're very highly rated on the private side of things too. So besides the utility, I went on the BBB and other places, and I tried to look them up. They got a decent score. People had some decent things to say. Just so you guys know, me personally, as a civilized human being, I try not to take negative reviews to heart, mainly because of the fact that people will take the time to blow somebody up, but they won't necessarily take the time to write a glowing review about somebody unless they're in that situation where they like to do that sort of thing, or they feel the need to because the person went beyond above and beyond their call of duty or whatever. And I'm kind of guilty of that myself. I'll go through months without writing a review, and then something horrible will happen. And I guess I'm guilty of it recently too. I posted on social media this thing where I asked for companies to come out and give me estimates for gutters. And I had this whole email thread going, and then out of nowhere, the guy first tells me that he does cover union as part of his scope. And then I said, he said, well, we have a 30-foot minimum for gutter installs. And I didn't know what that length of roof was that's on my house on the backside that I showed in some of the other videos, where it erodes as the water's rolling off the pitch of the roof, it erodes the soil and grass underneath. So I got these mud rivers that form when it's really raining. So I figured, okay, let's get some gutters. There's one company that responded to my request. The other ones didn't even bother answering. And that's been a going theme in the South. In California, I never had that. Every company I ever put a request out to, even if it took 24, 48 hours, they always got back to you, and you always had the opportunity to shop around. Here, you have like 3 or 4 companies that do the work, the kind of work that you need. You reach out to them, one might get back to you, and then that one kind of strings you along and then finally says, oh, sorry, the kind of work you want is beyond our scope of work. And I'm just like, that's lame, because now I have nobody. Now unless I climb up a 40-foot ladder to install this gutter myself, I'm stuck. I don't have the equipment to do it. I don't have the know-how to do it. I mean, I could tell you that gutters need to be pitched in one direction so the water drains. That's all I know. Everything else is kind of beyond me. So now I'm stuck. And maybe that's the reason why there's no gutter on that side of the house, because the one company that was willing to answer my request for quote ultimately bailed out on me right as I said, hey, come on by. I nudged him and I said, hey, what's the status? And never got back to me. So I did that nasty collage on Instagram, and I felt bad, but I was so angry with them because I'm stuck, and I'm like, you don't do that to people. And I told them, I said, you were my last hope. And they never responded to that message still to this day. So anyway, to go back to my original point, I take Yelp reviews and stuff like that with a grain of salt, especially the negative ones. I'll read them, I'll look at them, and I'll be like, okay, this sounds like they're just nitpicking, or oh, that's a legitimate negative part of that job. And then you have to kind of keep that in mind. The positive ones, the raves, I love those. I look for those because that tells me that somebody actually had a good experience. This guy, please understand, I had a fantastic experience. You know, barring the circumstance, if I was just hiring him to move some trees around, and I was paying for it, it would be well worth the dime that I paid for it. And I would definitely recommend them to my friends, to my colleagues, whatever, in the area. And I mean, they were in and out in less than 90 minutes, and that was a pretty tough ask because of the hill. We had to get permission from the next door neighbor to get into his yard over here. And then, you know, this is all sloped and weird cattywampus angles. You know, he had to bring a smaller machine to get through, you know, like the gate over there. Great guy. Did it with a smile. You know, he walked up to me as I was recording that montage of that diabolical machine eating the tree, and he just laughed. I said I had to. It'll make the best content, I think. Anyway, we'll wait for the electrician to come by, and I will check back in with you guys in a little bit. So things are slowly starting to get together here. There's a new panel. Looks insane. I've never actually seen the guts of a panel just like this. No breakers, no conduits or anything. But look at the size of those cables in there. Rated for 200 amps. Crazy. I love it. It's starting to come together. I'm happy. All right, everybody, here's some closure for you. The mast, the breaker box, as well as the meter base has been installed. Apologies for my appearance. I've been outside for the last 6 hours. It's a little warm, but they got everything in here. Main 200 amp breaker is off. All the other breakers are on. Furnace, AC, heater, water, dryer panel. Oh, there's a sub panel inside. So yeah, they labeled everything for me, and we're ready to receive the, come on. Okay, definitely not something that I'm going to do single-handedly ever again. Okay. Whew, that took all the effort I had. But yeah, so I'll step back for a second so you guys can see the whole thing. So they left the 3 pigtails. The hot 1, hot 2, and neutral are there. Also denoted as black, red, and white. If you see the ends of the pigtails. The black one you can't really see because the insulation is black. But this one here is black. This one here is white. And the one that's hanging upwards is the neutral. So the inspector will be here tomorrow to look at this. The electrician said he's pretty certain that it's just going to be yeah, looks good. Having a good day. But I have to be here for that to take place. Somebody has to be here. So I will be here again tomorrow morning Also, they did they installed 2 ground rods. You guys saw that. Well, I showed you the one being beaten in with the electric hammer. That was a nice little generator that they had, made for an easy job to bury those copper poles. I think they were about 8 feet long. They look pretty tall, or maybe 6 feet. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, suffice it to say, it is installed. And now we wait again. So fortunately, the house side is done. Now we have to deal with this side. And that's it. I'm going to walk around, clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up. I did just clean up, this area a little bit. So when my mom comes back tomorrow, she's not going to be all like, oh, it's dirty, I got to clean everything. So I try to take care of that as much as possible. I'm going to go over here and close this gate. And then I already locked up. I already closed the crawl space door. We're going to close this gate up here. And then we're just going to roll out. Make sure this door is locked. It sure is. And we are going home. So, I'm actually going to close this too, since nobody's coming here tonight. Come on. No. This way. Oh no, I pulled it out too far. Okay. Oh man. What kind of nonsense is that? They're too close together. So we're gonna have to do some adjustments at some point. Door's locked. Let's walk over to the bolt and I'll close this video out. I did water my mom's plants because they are out in the sun and she hasn't been here for a few days. I just noticed that they put an electrical permit on the door, which is good. And I'm glad I got this on video because I wouldn't want to, not have a permit. 200 amp service upgrade. Yeah, they did upgrade the service. I think it was 120 or 160 amp or whatever it was from way back when. So I'm glad that this was done legitimately, and there's an upgrade out of it. So it's to code, modern, all the good stuff. Meanwhile, the bolt has been sitting here for most of the day. I did leave for a minute to go get the contractor some food, and I ended up parking in the same spot. So, okay. Zen. Okay. Nothing much really to say. Tomorrow we wait for the inspector. And then we wait for the power company, the utility, to come out and run their they're not pairs, 3 strands of main lines. So 2 hots and a neutral to the house. They'll terminate it with the pigtails that are there. They'll attach it to the wall to, for strain relief or whatever. And that's that. Yeah, I am going to head home. I am in pretty bad shape in terms of just physical condition. I'm exhausted. After I hang up with you guys, I'm actually going to go in the back and get my water. And then I'm going to head home. And that's it. No driving footage today. I just didn't have the mental capacity to do so. I will bring you guys back for a part 2, I guess, or maybe, part 2 of this video tomorrow. So I'll edit this when I get home, and then tomorrow's inspection and installation will be a separate video, assuming there's something to report. If they just show up and say, yeah, looks good, have a nice one, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to tell you guys that it happened, and that's it. But when they do come to install the lines, I'll be here for that. So thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey of somewhat pain and somewhat suffering, but it's coming to an end. My mom's in a good spot right now. I'm glad she didn't come over here. She said she was going to come over here at noontime, and I told her, I said, don't bother. This is just, a bunch of guys just doing guy things. And, my mom is the kind that'll, try to help where she thinks she can help. And that's not good, especially in this heat. It's, it's about 92 or 93 degrees. And I wouldn't want her here for that anyway. Besides, she's got a dog and she just needs to relax. And this whole situation took a toll on her anyway. And I don't want her to undo a year's worth of progress with her health over one incident that I was able to effectively manage without any trouble or incident. So, okay, you guys have a good one. Thanks so much for joining me. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.